Welcome to Craft Chat Chronicles, the go-to podcast for tips on crafting best-selling fiction. Here at Craft Chat Chronicles, we bring you expert interviews, insights, and tips on writing, publishing, and marketing. Join the conversation and embark on a new chapter in your writing journey. For workshops, show notes, and more information, visit jdmyall.com. That's jdmyall.com.
In Season 2, Episode 5 of Craft Chat Chronicles, we dive into Part 1 of our two-part episode with debut author Rebecca Dazenbaker. Again, in Season 2, Episode 5 of Craft Chat Chronicles, we dive into the first part in a two-part episode with debut author Rebecca Dazenbaker. Rebecca talks writing craft, her publishing journey, and a universe of stories. So, listen and let's dive in and start chatting.
It's nice to meet you.
Meet you too. You're whiz at social media.
Well,
I was looking at your Instagram.
But
I was quite impressed.
Thank you. People say that, but I feel like I'm like, I don't understand the whole Instagram thing. I find it really hard to make traction there, but I'm just trying. I'm gonna make an effort, and then eventually it'll pan out. But I enjoy making the goofy TikTok videos. I just find I usually am right now, you can't tell, but I'm wearing pajama bottoms. So I'm usually in my pajamas all day. So I'm like, oh, I got to make effort to get dressed on days that I create TikToks and stuff. So it's is today going to be one of those days? If not, maybe I'll just do another aesthetic video and let that go. It's fine.
What, is there any software or anything that you use to help with that?
Just CapCut. That kind of helps. Though, sometimes I can get away with using the TikTok editor, and I think you can do a lot with the Instagram editor too. I just haven't created videos on that yet. So maybe someday I'll give that one a try too. But yeah, I went through Unsplash and Pexels to just gather a bunch of videos and photos that fit my aesthetic, the red, white, black theme for my book. And I'm all right, I'm just saving all those. And then it's really easy to find templates on CapCut, and you just literally click the photo and it slides it in to match up with the music. And it's okay, great. And then I'll add the caption and post it. Those are easy. Those take 15, 20 minutes to create. Whereas if I'm talking, I'm then I have to go through and edit out all the ums and the likes and the I'll just keep recording, and then I'll start over saying what I said because I messed it up. And as you can tell, I'm a bit of a rambler too. So I'll have to go through and I didn't need to say those 2 minutes of nothing. I'll just be talking for no, I'll just be saying nonsense. And I'm wait, it's just my writing. In fact, I'll just write. And then later I'm take all that out. That didn't need to be there. Why did I write that? So, but you just have to get it on page,
Very true, very true. You can't ever edit a blank page, they say.
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit about your writing journey.
So I'm a professional photographer. I saw that you do photography too. So I
noticed that your pictures are really great, by the way.
Thank you so much. So is yours. I was looking through, I was oh, she's a photographer. And so I was clicking on all your photos. And so I run my own business. Since 2013, I've been a full-time photographer. So during COVID, I had to shut down my business, but right when I was starting my photography business, I had an idea for a YA novel. So for those 10 years up until COVID, I had been jotting down notes just about the world building. And when our governor, I live in Virginia, our governor shut down all non-essential businesses, I just was going stir crazy. My kids were both teenagers, so they didn't need me, to do anything. They were self-sufficient, making their own lunches and stuff. And so all this time that I'd spent every day running my business, I now just had free and I didn't know for how long. So I was well, I always said I'd write this novel if I had the time. So I took a workshop on Creative Live with Lisa Cron, Wired for Story. And it's like a 3-day workshop, and it like had like hands-on activities. And so I had my world, but I didn't know what story I wanted to tell. So that's basically what I went through with her. And then I just started writing, and I was writing. I was literally just doing it for myself for fun. And after I'd written a couple of chapters, my husband's like, maybe you should like start to actually like write this like in paragraph form. So, cause I was like sending him and my best friend like every chapter, like, hey, look, I'm doing this. It's fun. And I was really writing just to curb the panic attacks from the pandemic. And I am not a person that would typically have panic attacks, but that was really terrifying, like everyone knows. And so, you know, I would get like the heart palpitations and just like the nerves and everything, and just sudden anxiety onset. And so just escaping into this world really helped my mental health. And I just had fun with it. I was writing for myself. I was writing just to have fun. And I was writing the story like that I would like to read. I read a ton of YA. I read a ton of romance. So there's a lot of romance tropes. There's a lot of YA themes in my stories. And when I finished writing it and maybe had read it through once, I contacted a friend of mine who was traditionally published. And I used to work with her, and I had a corporate job before photography. And I was like, hey, can you just tell me about the business? I didn't know anything about the publishing business or how she got a book deal. And so she walked through her publishing journey with me, and she introduced me to her agent, which was, in hindsight, something that is very rare. Like, people don't usually just introduce you to their agent. Her agent requested the full, which was very sweet, but within a few days, she was like, I don't rep YA, but this is great. You should keep sending it out. And I had like people in my book club who'd read it and they loved it. So I was like, yay, I'm going to start querying, and expecting it to be like so fast, because I just loved my book and everyone had loved it so much. And this one agent was like, it's great, keep sending it out. And so I was like, yay. And then like rejection after rejection started coming in. And that was just like my like heart did not handle that well. It was devastating for me. So this was like 2020, still end of 2020, like September to December, I maybe racked up like 60 rejections, no partial requests or anything. I wasn't getting any traction. And I just told my husband, I was like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this anymore. And he's like, well, he's like, you can take a break. Just don't give up. So I took like a 1-month hiatus over the holidays. And then I started joining like actual writing groups, pitch groups, found legitimate critique partners, other authors, and figured out what I was doing wrong. And there was a lot. And so I made all
Was it your query? Or was it your page?
Everything. The query letter wasn't right. It was so long. It was like 500 words. And it basically was a synopsis. And it wasn't even in the character's voice. So yeah, it was really dry. And then I had a prologue, which was written from an 8-year-old's point of view, which you don't do for YA. And so it was just, there were so many things. The writing wasn't tight. There were a lot of flashback chapters that didn't need to be there. So yeah, so it was a lot of just cleaning it up and making it more exciting and stuff. So I started requerying in like April of 2021. And by the end of May, I had an agent. So that part went fast. It seems like it went fast, but it wasn't. It was a lot of like revise, keep getting more critiques, like over those like 4 or 5 months of revisions. And then like 6 months more of revisions, because it was intended to originally be a 2-book series or duology. And my agent was like, take everything you want to do in the sequel and put it in the first book, but don't increase your word count. So that took like another 3 months to do that huge revision. And then she was like, okay, that's great, but you basically have 1 book and then a second book stuck at the end. So now you have to incorporate it all together. It's like, okay, I see what you're saying. I just don't want to do the hard work, but I did it. So now it's all like seamlessly integrated, and even more so now that I've gone through editorial developments. Like this one character who wasn't going to be in this who wasn't going to be introduced until the second book, is now in the second chapter. So I've just kept moving him in more and more as the revisions have gone on. So now it's pretty seamless, but that's kind of in a nutshell. So I was on, and this is something, Michelle Wolfson with Wolfson Literary. It's a very small boutique agency, but one of her biggest, she's like several best-selling authors, but Kirsten White is kind of what drew me to her, because she's a really prolific YA and now adult writer. And Lauren Blakely, she represents a lot of romance too. So I was like, oh, YA and romance, like that's me too. So it just ended up being perfect. She was a really great fit. So I feel very lucky. And she's super patient, and she's also very responsive. Like if I send her an email, I'll hear back usually within 30 minutes. So that's nice. You're not just sitting there twiddling your thumbs. So she's great.
Mine was the opposite. Mine was, it took me forever for her to put me on sub because we had doing revisions. But then when I went on sub, it sold quick. But like, we were doing revisions forever. I didn't think I was ever going to sub. We were doing so many revisions.
Oh, that's gotta been
like over a year of revisions.
Wow. Well,
so after a while, you start to think, well, maybe she just doesn't like it, and she doesn't want to be, she doesn't want to tell me.
But I mean, in hindsight, it's like, okay, well, she knew what she was doing, because then it sold right away. Yeah. And my agent is not an editorial agent. So like her comments were literally take the second book and put it in the first book. Like that was all of the like comments I got. So I was like, okay, but but I have these wonderful critique partners that I can like rely on now. So that's great. And then I think now going through the editorial process a little bit, I've only gone through first round so far. I feel like that's going to greatly improve my writing, just to see what those comments were. I was like, oh, it just kind of like opens up a world of, I don't know the right word for it, but it just like opened my eyes to kind of where my writing was falling flat, like seeing someone point out things in that way. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And also like so far, all of my revisions have been like, dial it back, try to get the word count down, smaller, make it tighter. And now the editor is like, we need to add in more of internal dialogue and a little bit of the choreography of the scene. And so we know, like, we can visualize what people are doing in the scene, and all that stuff I'd been like taking out just to make it lean. So now it's kind of fun, like adding a lot of that back in, because I love to hear what people are thinking and visualize what they're doing too. So it's all good. Yeah.
Your story, the concept sounds really cool.
Thank you. So I had that idea. So I had this idea, like I was driving past the cemetery and I was like, oh gosh, I wonder if my former self was buried there. And maybe it wasn't even a girl with curly hair. It's all straightened out right now, but like maybe it was a boy, or maybe I was a totally like born in a different nation. And like, how cool would it be to find out, like maybe we just don't have the technology yet. And maybe someday we'll have that technology to literally connect our souls from life to life. So I just brought like my photography expertise. I was like, what if we could photograph souls and then they could compare them like we do with fingerprints, right? Like you have a little specific identifier and then you carry that from life to life. And like, your DNA is determined by your parents. So your soul can really be born into anybody, right? Like, so that's kind of like how the thought came about. And then, like I said, I've just been world building from then on. I was like, well, how would that change the world? How would that change religion? How would that change our nationalism? How would that change currency? So the more I thought about it, the more I was like, people will start judging you not on these superficial things that we see through our DNA right now, but probably more of our actions, especially our soul's actions. And you can get penalized, or you can get certain advantages based off of who you were in your past. So people come out of their soul identification, they're either going to have their inheritance from their past life. Instead of passing it to your kids, you'll give it to your next life. And job offers because you were a famous mathematician and you have the Nobel Prize. So you're going to get, all of these job offers or scholarships, and, waiting for you when you come out. Or if you were a criminal and you didn't finish your life sentence, you have to go in and finish that.
I
Because,
love that.
so yeah, so there's the drama of it all. And then in this world, part of my magic system, even though it's not a fantasy, like it kind of reads like a fantasy to me anyway. My magic system is that only a very small portion of the population has soulmates. So I scientifically identify them because they have almost identical soul like prints, like they're light rays or whatever that are being photographed are almost identical. And then only a very small portion of people have soulmates. So it's kind of this like thing where you're going in and you're like, am I going to have a soulmate? And that most people won't. And so my main characters, like twin best friends, went in and they hit the lottery. They got everything. They got the huge inheritance. They got the scholarship job offer. They got soulmates. So then she goes in and they're like, you're going to get it too. And of course, like everything goes the opposite because that's what we do to our characters. Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
When is it slated to come out?
Right now it's slated for July 1st of 2025. Okay. So
do you have a cover yet? Do you have a cover yet?
No, I've seen a rough draft and I love my cover artist, and I'm sure you'll be able to, once it prints, like you'll know who it is. But he's amazing. He's done Chloe Gong's covers. He did Jennifer Lynn Barnes' The Inheritance Game covers. So when they told me who it was, I couldn't sleep that night. I was so excited. I was like, are you kidding me? So yes, so I'm really excited, and hopefully I'll have the success that those books have had. Cause I'm like, oh my gosh, that's why I couldn't sleep. I was like, what? Like I didn't get a huge advance. So I'm like, if they're going to invest that much in that cover artist, like maybe that means good things. Maybe I'll actually get some press for my book. But if not, like literally just so thrilled to have gotten this far. Like my idea, my like constant mantra was, it will happen. Don't give up. Like
you didn't get a small advance either though. You did good. You did all right.
Yeah. It wasn't like six figures by any means. But it's, it's split over 2 books. I would say it's like average. It's not small. It's not, I would say it's an average for a big 5, right?
Exactly.
For YA. Yeah. So I'm grateful.
Tell me about your agent call, and then we'll talk about the author call. Hi, JD Myall here. Sorry to interrupt. I wanted to thank you for tuning in and to let you know that this episode of Craft Chat Chronicles has been brought to you by Heart's Gambit, my debut novel. It's available for pre-order right now at barnesandnoble.com. What is Heart's Gambit, you ask? It's about 2 time-traveling families, 1 cursed magical duel, and the pair of star-crossed lovers who might break the cycle if they don't break each other first. If you love the time travel romance of Outlander and the lush, haunting magic of the Night Circus, this is the book for you. Pre-order Heart's Gambit today at barnesandnobles.com and grab your copy when it hits shelves on February 3rd, 2026, wherever books are sold. Again, pre-order Heart's Gambit today at barnesandnoble.com and grab a copy when it hits store shelves on February 3rd, 2026. And while you're at it, don't forget to buy a copy of today's guest book and support their projects as well. Support authors, support bold stories. Now, back to Craft Chat Chronicles. Let's get chatty.
Okay, so she had surprised me. I got the full request. When I queried her, she was my first and only full request from a query letter. I did have some from live pitching. But yes, so I've gotten one and only one full request from a query letter, and it was her. And It was with 30 minutes of sending it. And so later that day I sent the full because I had to stop crying first.
Mhm.
And then 10 days later, she called me out of the blue and it was an unidentified number. I thought it was spam at first, but something about the New York area code had me picking up. And she was like, "Hi, Rebecca, this is Michelle Wolfson." And I was like, like I kind of knew it was happening, but I didn't. And she, kind of talked to me about my book and I love it so much. And I've already read it twice. And my daughter loves the idea because she had talked about it with her preteen daughter at the time. Now she's a teenager. And her daughter was like, "You're going to sign her, right?" So she's like, so I felt obligated to call. So she apparently does surprise authors with the offer call. And then she scheduled a follow-up call so I could ask all of my questions. So she was like,
did you?
Yeah. So we had a follow-up call. I asked all my questions. I asked to talk with one of her other authors on her list, and she arranged that for us. And she won me over too. I fell in love with that author right off the bat. So that was
What
great.
kind of questions did you ask your agent before you accepted the offer?
So it was like 3 years ago. So it's hard to say. I could probably pull up the document. It was a lot of the standard stuff because I did all the research, like I went to Google, I went to all my writer groups, like who do I ask? What should I ask? And I think like the one that most people that recommended was to ask to talk with another author that she represents. And there were things like, will you pitch like to the big five? And she said yes. I wanted print versus EPUB, because I know there's a lot of like agents out there that mostly do EPUB now. And I really want I want to hold it in my hands. So I was like, oh, I want to so there are certain things that I wanted. And I was fine with her not being an editorial agent, again, because I found like such wonderful critique partners. So that we're just like a nice little tight knit group now. So yeah, so I think it was all the standard stuff. It wasn't anything out of the norm. I'm just really glad that I did connect with one of her authors. She published last 2018, then she kind of stopped writing for a while, but Michelle like never dropped her. She was like, stay with me, and then once this author's sons were off to college, she started writing again. So they sort of like rekindled their professional relationship, but they'd stayed friends the whole time. So I love that idea of like, if this book doesn't sell, and that was one of the questions that I had asked Michelle, like, if this book doesn't sell, like what happens then? And my fear was she'd be like, well, maybe I'm not the right person for you. But she was like, oh, well, then we'll just go on to the next one, keep writing. And I did. Like once I went on submission, I kept writing. So I have a couple of other books waiting for homes now, and we haven't pitched what my second book is now. So I'm like halfway through writing a third that we think might be the one, because it's another speculative like this one. The other two are contemporary YA. So we'll see. So yeah, that's how it went. Sorry, I am a rambler. So just shut me up if I talk too much.
So how did the editor call go?
Okay, so that was also unique. 4 days before the offer came, my agent emailed me that one of the editors was enjoying it. And that's all she said. And we'd had authors enjoy it before and nothing happened. Again, it had been like a 20-month thing. So I literally thought nothing of it. I was like, whatever. I had sent Michelle my newest manuscript over that weekend. And so she called me on Monday or Tuesday, and I thought she was calling to, like, she had read it. She reads fast, obviously. So I thought she was calling to read it. So as I do, I rambled for the first like 20 minutes of our conversation. We talked about her son going off to college and his dorm mates and our Google calendars and just everything busy we were up to and vacations and stuff like that. And then the conversation kind of lulled and she was like, so we got an offer on your book today. And I was like, what?
You were like,
So
why didn't you lead with that?
I know. And it's funny because I'm friends with another author she represents who got her first book deal like 2 weeks after me. So both of us got our debut book deals like back to back. And she said she went back to Myall when I told her that story. Michelle's like, I don't remember it like that. And I was like, no, it was 20 minutes. I have the call log. And so anyway, so she and my husband was working from home that day. And his office is, I'm pointing that way, but his office is over there. And so I'm like on the phone and I like walk over there and the glass, he has like these paned glass doors to the office. They're closed. And I'm like, I got a book deal. And like, meanwhile, like Michelle's telling me about the deal and I'm trying to like write down the details and I'm like telling him and he's like, what? And I'm like, I got a book deal. And like, and he was like, calm down. I was like, okay. And so anyway, like I was just pacing the house and everything. And she told me the details and like, what do you think? And I was like, I think it sounds amazing. Just take it or negotiate. Like you've done this forever, like whatever. So she was like, yeah, she's like, I think we can get better. I was like, but she's like, you want to, I was like, absolutely, like, yes, I will sign it right now. Just whatever. So anyway, she was wonderful. So I didn't talk with or email with my editor until after the terms were agreed to. So I didn't have a call with her until I got my developmental letter. And that was the first time we'd actually talked. So we'd emailed a couple of times, but Myall didn't know what changes she wanted to make. It wasn't discussed. So that was something that my agent said to me once my my edit letter came in. She was like, they bought this as is without requesting changes. So you don't have to do anything. But I was like, no, I love her ideas. I'm going to give it a try. I've literally never met an edit that I didn't love or fall in love with. And the same held true with this revision. I'm completely obsessed. And so now I'm like really nervous about what my second letter is going to say. Cause I'm like, oh, I hope I don't have to change that much more. Cause I so love the plot now. Like the story is the same. The story has always been the same, even as I've incorporated all these changes. But the plot has made significant changes here. And I'm just like, wow, how did I write this? Like, it's just so like, it just blows my mind. I'm like, how does my brain work like that? I don't know. Like if anyone asked me to tell them the story without sitting and writing it, like it just would never have come out. But I don't know. I'm just still like in awe. I'm like, I don't know. It's great. It's a fun feeling.
Your editor's story was like other people I've talked to. There was another girl who told me that she didn't talk to her editor until like after the deal. Mine was the opposite. I talked to her first.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's pretty common.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, because you want to get an idea of the working relationship. Like, am I going to want to work with this person? But it was like, I could tell from the first email exchange because she wrote like words in all caps and there was like 12 exclamation points at the end of things. And I was like, oh, okay, we have the same energy. Like I could just tell from her email. And like with Myall, I like have to like go and take exclamation points out of my emails after I draft them, like calm down. But with Nicole, she's like, all the exclamation points. I'm like, yes, do it. We'll take it out of my novel, but we'll keep them in the emails. So yeah.
That's exciting. What are your plans as far as launching goes?
So I have a friend, well, it's like more of like my husband's business colleague's wife who opened a bookstore nearby, an indie bookstore, which I'm in love with. So I already know I'm going to partner with them for my book launch, but it's a very small store. And I have a lot, we live in a really large community here and I have a lot of friends. So there's no way everyone's going to fit. So we'll probably like rent out a space in my neighborhood. There's like a community center, right? And just have the bookstore bring copies there. I don't know. So that's like one thing. And then I'm hoping to go back to my hometown. I grew up like 3 hours south and maybe do like a signing there. And I have friends who live in Portland, Oregon. And so they're like, you have to come out here and do one at, oh shoot, what's the big bookstore there? My brain's gonna Powell's. So they're like, you have to do a signing at Powell's. I was like, I don't know if Powell's will take a debut author, but maybe I'll just be like, hey. So yeah, like I've already talked with, my kids are both in high school. So I already talked with their school librarian too. Like, I'd love to come in, like talk to the writing classes, that sort of stuff. I don't know, like I'm sure it'll build more and more as time goes on. So the librarians there are like, oh, we asked this one author to come in and they quoted us $20,000. I was like, oh, well, I I will not charge you
Yeah.
$20,000. But now I'm thinking big thoughts. Like, can I charge $20,000 at some point to go talk to a school? Does he actually get that much money? Because that's a lot. They were like, I think that he just didn't want to do it. And he was like, well, it'll be worth my while for $20,000. I was like, yeah, most things would be, I think. So that's wild. Anyway, yeah, no. I'll probably be like, just let me come in and talk about my book.
What are your social media plans? I know you, since you're the social
Yeah.
media member.
So, I mean, pretty much for every phase I'm trying to like pump things up. I did just get character art a few days ago. And so I have a plan to roll that out, but there's a lot.
Did you make it or did the publisher do it?
No, neither. I hired someone on Fiverr. I did a lot of research because I love digital art, but I didn't want someone who would use AI. So I did like a lot of research and I found someone whose catalog or portfolio went back pre-generative AI, like back to like the 2016s. And I was like, okay, so he's legit. And I love it. There's just a lot going on right now. So things are slowed down. I just need to kind of get through the next couple of weeks personally with things that are going on. There's a funeral, there's stuff going on. So I was like, well, that's going to take a back burner. And then once I have the energy to focus on that, like I'll go on. But the nice thing is we have like 14, I know you have closer to like 16, 17 months till your launch. So I have time, right? And I don't want to also like keep slamming the same content down my followers' posts. So I want to make sure I have something new and different to say each time. So that was like my last one. I was like, oh, I haven't talked about retitling my book. So the last one I made was, here are the titles that I sent, and here's the one they selected. So I was like, that's something fun I can do, and I don't have to be on camera. So that was something new and different. But you can only do so many like book trailers till I was like, that's, it's just not getting much traction. Now, one thing that I've noticed, my TikTok views are lame, my IG views are lame, but YouTube, like same content posted on YouTube does great. So
really, that's good to know.
So I use Metricool, which is a free social media planner, to repost my content. So I'll just download it from TikTok and then I'll repost it to Facebook, IG, Pinterest, and YouTube. And the nice thing like about YouTube and like, again, like YouTube, just for some reason, the book trailers do well there. And then on Pinterest, the nice thing about Pinterest is the content only, like the reach only grows. And I've noticed that with my own photography work, like photos that I posted 4 years ago get more views than content I'm posting now. So things like snowball with Pinterest, and you just have to give it time and it marinates and it just gets better and better and better. So the best time to post on Pinterest was 2 years ago, and then it'll just keep going. So that's a little like, maybe a little unknown thing that people don't know, and that I just learned through photography. Like most of the hits from my photography site are from Google and Pinterest. Like, so I like love it because it just gives you a little bit of that validation. Yeah. So you can always repurpose stuff. So if it bombs on TikTok, which everything's been doing lately, because, it's more about the TikTok store these days than like sending stuff to, like, I don't have a TikTok store yet because I'm obviously not selling books or anything. I'm hoping to get some fun swag. Like there's the crossroads symbol, like the circle with the X in it is a big symbol in my book. So I'm hoping to get like some temporary tattoos or stickers. And I'm actually probably going to get my very first only ever tattoo, but when I launch my book or leading up to my book launch, of the crossroads symbol, just to like memorialize my very first novel. There's like a bunch of fun stuff. So maybe at some point I'll have a TikTok store and my content will start doing better, but For the most part now, it's just like, oh, it's like I just try not to worry about it. I'm like 300 people is 300, 300 people who didn't see it yesterday, like I didn't reach yesterday.
Exactly.
And
the book's not out yet. Once the book is out and in stores and you have readers, it's going to grow. The numbers will go up.
Yeah. And I think, I feel like Simon Teen, who will be doing like all of my publicity and stuff, they're really great. Like I've been following them for a while now, and they are really great about promoting even backlist books. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of their team. I think it'll be great. We'll see. I don't have anything to compare it to. But again, like anything I get, I would be great, which is why when I saw your post, I was like, oh, that's one thing I can do.
Come this way for an event. Maybe we can do an event together or something.
Oh, I would so much better to partner up with somebody, because I hate just like blabbering on. And I think it's so much easier to do it conversational style and like talk with one another,
And we're both YA fantasy. Romance.
Yeah.
I was saying we're both YA.
Yes. Tell me about your book, because I looked up your blurb and I couldn't, like on the Discord, like you haven't put the description
We haven't announced yet. That's why you couldn't find it.
I know. So tell me about it.
It's called Heart's Gambit. It's with Wednesday Books, which is a division of Macmillan.
Nice.
And it's pitched as like Outlander meets the Night Circus. So it's these magical warring time traveling families, and there's like a forbidden love.
Oh my God. Okay. Forbidden love is my very favorite trope. I love the angst of it. Like, love it. It's like any romance trope, like any romance book, forbidden love. I'm like, yes, put me in there. So it just made sense.
My dog. I'm sorry.
That was what I wrote too. So we have that in common. So mine's a forbidden romance also.
Yeah.
Yay. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So let's plan on that. We will do an event together.
Definitely.
I absolutely love that.
Definitely.
I can't wait.
Me too. Tell me about your creative process. What's your writing process look like?
So I do plot, but then I usually abandon my plot at least like halfway in. Usually it ends where I expect it to end, but then the middle route goes elsewhere. As my brain just continues to work on it. And like, as I'm writing, I'll be like, this is boring. What can I do that's something better? So the first book that I wrote, this one, I was kind of editing as I went, and I would go back and read the chapter a few times before going into the next one. I've stopped doing that. And it's like the future me gets really annoyed at my past me, because then I'll go back and read my rough draft and I'm like, why does it suck? Because it's written so badly, but I'm literally just trying to get all of the dialogue on the page. And so now, like right now, because I drafted half of the new book, then I stopped for developmental edits, and now I'm going back and I'm trying to like reread what I wrote just to remember the story that I've written so far. It's like, oh, how did I get a book deal? It's so bad. So it's just very rough. And I'm going through and I'm trying to fix things. And I'm also just trying to press forward so I can finish actually writing it. So I try to just push through and keep writing without going back to read. And then once I get to the end, I'll go back, and actually I'll wait. Like they say, I'll let it marinate for a few weeks, and then I'll go back and start reading. And I try to read it twice through, read and revise twice through, and then I'll send it to critique partners. And I'll be like, I know this sucks, but I just need to make sure the story works before I really start polishing it up and sending it through all of the pro writing read, like things like taking out all of the sticky sentences. And I try to do as much of that as I can, but then I'll find like repetitive words and stuff that your eyes just don't catch as much. So that's kind of
Where did you find your critique group, your critique partners?
I found the original group through Moms Who Write, I think it is. Something like that, on Twitter. I used to be on Twitter a lot. I haven't used it in like a year. But they would have like the monthly like Q&A, and they were like, if you're looking for a critique partner, this was again like way back in 2021. What's your book about, and whatever. And so I found a couple there, and they were wonderful. One of them is no longer writing. She runs a farm up in New York, and just running a business and running a farm and having 4 children. Like she's taken a step back. And then the other one, we still are cheerleaders for one another, but our writing styles are so very different. I think we've just kind of like gone separate ways. So somehow I'm trying to remember I think through one of my pitch groups, I found this other author who is my favorite and also my least favorite critique partner, because she's so like, it's like a dagger to the heart. Like she doesn't pull any punches. She will state very clearly that something like, I don't like this. No, why would he say that? Like she doesn't try to make it nice,
Mm-hmm.
but she's always dead on. So she, like, even though it hurts to read her comments, she says what has to be said. And so I appreciate that. It's funny because my best friend and her will be reading at the same time, and my best friends will be like, I love this, or maybe you should reword this. And she'll have to turn off my critique partner's comments because they make her angry because she's so mean. I'm like, I know, but she's so right. Like, that's the thing. Like, I can't let her go because she always says what I need to, like, oh, yep, she's right. And, there's a couple of things I'll be like, no, I'm going to keep that. But most of the time I'm like, oh yeah, I got to change that.
I hate it when that happens.
I know. So it's like one of those things where your heart's palpitating as like the comments are coming through. Cause I use Google Docs. So like, I'll get the email that she's made comments and I'm like shoring myself up. Like, I gotta read them. But, so she's wonderful. And then I have another one, the one that my agent represents us both. And she also writes YA, and she's going to be a 2025 debut. So she's in the same group with us. Her name's Veronica Bain. Which I always reminds me of Cassandra Clare. Did you read wasn't there a Bane character? Anyway. So yes. So we're critique partners now too, which is great. It's nice to have someone that I can tell my agent, like, Veronica's read it. She liked it. So now you'll like it. But it's good. My agent was sending me to her intern, like not sending me, but she would send my pages to her intern to read first. And my intern started to give me like kind of a small little edit letter. And my agent would read it too, but she would be like, here's Molly's letter, because she doesn't do the critiques. And then now her intern is an agent. So she has her own clients to work with. So now I have a new critique partner. It all works out. So I love it. Do you have some too that you like?
Yeah.
Nice.
I got a couple I met through Drexel, so I got a couple that are newer. And then I have some that had like from forever, like Maggie Guile. She's a Canadian writer.
Yeah.
Me and her met in an online critique group years ago, and we wrote a novel together.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah, we were both very raw and young in our writing journey, so it wasn't very good. But now that we're both further along and she's had some books out and I got a book coming out and stuff, we want to revisit the idea.
I was going to say, come back to it. Yeah, that would be so fun. Oh my gosh, that's great. Yeah, I have a few others that I just remembered. I was like, oh yeah, because I like to, like, you don't want to always hit up the same person, right? And be like, can you read this one? Can you read this?
If you ever need a critique, hit me up.
Yeah.
Or if you want to send a copy when you get the book, comment on it or blurb it or share it or something like that. I don't know what my blurb would mean because I'm just like you, brand new.
I know.
It's not matter, but the offer's there.
Matter for both of us. People will be like, JD blurred my book. Yeah, absolutely.
Might not matter today, but
it will.
More than willingness,
I know. Oh my gosh. I just like had like a flash forward of like us and our pictures at like our book launch event that we did together. And then years later, like we'll meet up at a convention and be like, this was us 5 years ago. And look at us now, Isn't that fun?
Yeah, definitely fun. So what's been the most surprising part about the publishing journey to you so far?
Oh, that is a good question. I think, gosh, all of it, and yet none of it, I don't know. Like I always tell my kids, like, even with like my photography business, like when I was building it up, like I went to my husband when I wanted to take it full time because I was doing it on the side. And I was like, I know this will happen. Like, it's not a like, I hope it will happen. Like, I know this will happen. It's just a matter of getting there. And I told him the same thing when I started querying. I was like, I know this book will get published. I just don't know when. And like, I just felt that strongly, like that this story was meant to be told. As I don't know how crazy or wackadoo and I get in this conversation, but like part of my like psyche is like, okay, like I'm telling this story because it had to be told. And that's like part of me is like, thinks I didn't actually write it. It just kind of like, okay, this is
weird. Sadiqa Johnson, she's a New York Times bestselling author.
Yeah.
She's also my mentor at Drexel. And I interviewed her recently and she said something very similar.
Yeah.
She said she thinks that basically that novels are almost like little embryos that are waiting to be born.
Yeah.
And she's like, the universe is giving you the story, but if you don't write it, the universe will give it to somebody else. And
you just gave me chills.
She's like, you'll read about somebody else doing your book that you didn't know and had no connection to.
So that's how I felt this whole time. And I guess part of it, I guess the surprising part is like getting on the other side of that and being like, I was right. Like, I mean, literally like my website and like now, if you scroll to the very bottom of it, it says hashtag chase your dreams. Until I got the book deal, it was hashtag it will happen. And that was my query tracker, like username was it will happen because I was like, I have to just keep telling myself like, it's determined already. Like this is going to happen.
That wraps up today's Craft Chat Chronicles with JD Myall. Thanks for joining us. If you liked the episode, please comment, subscribe, and share. For show notes, writing workshops, and tips, head to jdmyall.com. That's jdmyall.com. While you're there, join JD's mailing list for updates, giveaways, and more. Got questions or want to share your thoughts? Contact JD.
Are you struggling to keep your writing organized? Trust me, I've been there. I want to introduce you to Scrivener, the ultimate program for all writers. You can outline, draft, and even edit all in one place. Whether it's your next novel, screenplay, or even thesis, Scrivener helps you stay focused and finish strong. Scrivener adapts to your workflow. From your first draft to the final edit, it's a writer's secret weapon. Click on the link below and get started on your Scrivener writing journey today.